Glen-Marie North. I was just saying, one of the true, real, larger-than-life personalities I have ever met.
Well,
and I'm so glad that you said you'd come on the show. Thank you.
Well, I have not started your handsome face for so many years, and we have to change it.
Oh, you are very sweet. Les Ellicus is with me at the dining room table. You don't get to Adelaide. I take it you don't get to Adelaide a lot?
Probably because I'm heading to Perth more often because of my son living there.
Yes.
But maybe I could work out a stopover.
We're on the way, though.
Oh, you drop in.
I thought of that.
You can parachute in.
Yeah. I first met you, I don't know what I was doing. I was at Channel 10, and I think you might have been a guest on one of the programs, the Better Half, or it might have been 10 on Travel and People. But I remember you came along. I think you were the only guest who ever brought me a present. I mean, Les brings me a bottle of wine. That's true. But he's more of a fixture than a guest. But you brought me a great big bottle of Aramis aftershave, and I've never forgotten that, and I still have that bottle somewhere.
Oh, how fantastic. That's wonderful.
Nothing in it, mind you, but I've still got the bottle.
This sounds like a bit of a romance story developing here.
No, but back in those days, I wish, back in those days, you would have been, I guess, in public relations more than anything else, would you?
What year was that, approximately?
Oh, 69, maybe 70?
Oh, that's when I first came to Sydney. I would have been with the International Centre Foundation.
All
the Miss International Quest, because...
Oh, yes, I remember the Miss International Quest, yeah.
Well, I was the director of that, so that was probably why I was there.
You are, I guess, what is called, loosely these days, but back in the days we're talking about, you were the...
You're not saying I'm loose, are you?
No, you were the genuine... You were the genuine socialite.
Oh.
I mean, not like the pretenders that we have these days, but you were the genuine article.
You think so?
Larger than life and most interesting.
I don't know about that because I got paid to be social. I always held positions where I had to be seen out and about, and I was always a public speaker. And so I think it wasn't intentional, put it that way, because I got paid for being visible.
Yes, but when you're as pretty as you are, it's pretty easy to be visible.
Oh, well, I was only 20 then.
Well, I wasn't much older. Golly, no, I was. Yeah, but there were a lot of larger-than-life people around. All those characters of Sydney time or Sydney town at that time. Who are the people you remember? Obviously, Harry M. Miller.
Yeah, Harry M. Miller. There's lots of sirs and ladies around then too, because I know every time I had to see the chairman of a bank, it was a sir something.
Yeah.
There was
So Warwick and Lady Fairfax.
Yes, always there, and there was the Hoyt's Theatres. Wonderful man.
Yes.
One, but I'll think about it. Primrose Potter, of course, she was up here then, and before she went to Melbourne.
What was her nickname? Pity Pat or something, wasn't it?
Pity Pat was actually young Primmy.
Oh, right.
But
Okay.
The elder Primrose, she was very visible when I came to Sydney, and then she moved to Melbourne, to Spring Street, I think. But she was certainly held fort here in Sydney.
And it was Rada Penfold Russell?
Yes, Rada was there. There was, I was trying to think of
and
some
Rebel?
of those. Gretel.
No, Rebel.
Oh no, Rebel was a Ra, but Rebel was young. Like,
Yeah. She was the daughter. Yeah.
But I don't know whether I suppose they probably were considered socialites because they had the names, they had the titles. But I actually found, frankly, being social really hard work because I'd always have to then work as well. And so many other people didn't, but I had to bounce back the next morning. I always had staff, and I found it quite demanding. I didn't find it as pleasurable as I appeared.
Did you have to go to all the parties? Or did
No,
you like going to all the parties?
No, in many respects I had to, and there were a few I liked.
Hello,
Are you there, Glen-Marie?
She's dropped out.
Oh,
She's dropped out.
well, we'll have to drop her back in.
Call her back.
Yeah.
What's the number?
I don't know whether Glen-Marie, you got the number there?
Yeah, I've got it there.
Yeah. Glen-Marie, I don't know whether she ever wrote a column, but she would have been very, very well placed to...
I guess, Jeremy, she may...
Hello, this is Glen-Marie. Thank you for calling. I can't speak right now, but do leave your name, telephone number, a brief message, and
probably
repeat your
trying to ring
telephone
us.
number.
Maybe she's trying to ring us.
She may have been the incarnation of the early days of what we now call as influencers.
Yes, influencers, or those columnists who were around who could make you or break you.
Yes.
And I don't know, the power
Because, of course, that was
would go straight to their heads, I would imagine.
back before the days of social media.
Yeah.
So no Facebook, no Instagram. She might be here now.
Yeah. Hello, Glen-Marie.
Did you get bored with me?
No, I do periodically have this phone trouble. It drops in and drops out, but that's all right. I was just saying, did you ever write a column?
Oh, not really. I did for suburban newspapers, but that was,
You just satisfied yourself by being in them rather than writing them.
Oh, writing them was pretty boring. Look, I don't know whether you mentioned, did you hear me talking about dinner parties?
No. I think it dropped out then. Tell me about dinner parties.
Well, in those days, and it's not happening anymore because young kids go to restaurants all the time. But we always had dinner parties. We'd go to somebody's house and we'd have a dinner party. Or you'd have small gatherings of even up to 20 people. But that was how people, who we call the socialites, did entertain in those days. And I subsequently did it too. And it would introduce conversation. It was a networking opportunity to bring in other people. But no one does it anymore. And when you've got to go and teach life skills at Goldman Sachs and Macquarie and everywhere else, like I had to, for kids coming out of university, it's a pretty sad indictment that they don't have that natural ability. And I think that people today are missing out on so much compared to how we actually mixed and enjoyed people.
And look, Anne-Marie, we were just talking about that when the line dropped out, and you'd be nowadays called an influencer in the modern parlance.
Hate that word too.
But the technology, and a previous guest, we also talked about technology, how technology has removed a lot of that personal experience.
Absolutely.
Personal and face-to-face experience. I mean, you could argue that talking on the line is still personal, but face-to-face is always better in the present context.
I agree, Les. I agree, and I think it shows the type of conversation young people have today. But also, I think we mentioned the word influencer. The thing that saddens me there is that they have so many followers. Not that they can make a great living, I commend that, but you have so many followers. They're in their early 20s, but they've never had life experience. If you haven't had life experience, how can you be an influencer?
Yes. It's strange when you think how influential some people are, and you ask yourself the question these days, why? How did they get that power?
Yeah, exactly right. It's clever marketing, but the thing is, I think life experience spells volumes for people in the car, and it makes a big difference to the type of conversation that they can have and share with you too.
Have you ever written a book?
Oh, I've been asked to, but I keep saying I haven't got the time.
I guess there'd be people who'd pay you not to write the book.
Oh, well, most of the people who'd be in there now are almost dead.
It might bring them back to life, Anne-Marie, if you told a few stories.
No, I have not, Les. On some cases, but no, I think in fact, the same publisher came back just recently, and I said, "Look, I still haven't got the last chapter because I reckon I've got 10 years of doing something very different to what I have already." And I smile actually when I think about it. But I had after the Olympics, I was offered quite a bit of money to write the real book, and I never did because they were so successful. You can't actually then go and talk about behind the scenes. But as to, there'd be a few people who have to duck and weave if I did write a book.
Now, I know that homelessness is something that people are it's a talking point these days. The cost of an apartment, the cost of rent, the cost to buy a place, it's getting to be, it is prohibitive. Now, this is something you're interested in, isn't it?
Yes, because I had that personal experience myself when I was waiting on 2 knee surgeries, replacements, and I was on a public list which went up to 12 months. And halfway through, I was on a cane, and that's when I was actually teaching life skills, communication, networking, Goldman Sachs, Macquarie, PKF, etc.
Yeah.
And you cannot motivate young people when you're on a cane, and particularly when your face shows pain. So anyhow, while waiting for the operation, I just whatever savings I had went. I couldn't work, and then all of a sudden I realised that I couldn't pay my rent. And so when you can't pay your rent, you can't work. You're already miserable because you're in pain. I just had to go and keep staying with friends, and I faced myself one day and said, "You're homeless." And I was very lucky that Helen Coonan, one of my best mates, she took me in for 9 months, and then I went and looked after people's homes when they went away on holidays with my cat Tigger.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because for me, I never thought, number one, I didn't think it happened to me. I always thought I'd be earning good money, and there's no reason why I shouldn't think that, because I always had. And I think I was about early 60s. And the next minute I know, Michael Yapsey called me and said, "Why'd you come down here and stay at the cottage next to the house?" Which I did. Those 4 months turned into 4 years. I found myself. I found the real me I lost touch with because of all my corporate gigs. I stopped seeing nature, a whole lot of things. And I started caretaking people's houses, and I've got a real estate license, worked in a real estate office, and then I got my celebrant's license and started marrying people. So I didn't ever stop.
Golly.
I was qualified as homeless and waiting for a roof over my head for about 7 years.
Yeah. And that would have been such a contrast to your previous life.
Yes, but you know something? I never look back, ever.
No, I know. I don't either. I don't either. You take every day as it comes.
Well, I'm just grateful for everything I've had, because I've been very lucky. I've always had jobs offered to me, and I've never had to go and pitch for a job.
Well, you are one of the most well-connected, most beautiful women that Sydney town has ever thrown up.
God, you're good.
No, you're good. You're good.
He's not bad, Les, is he?
He's the master of the velvet tongue.
I agree.
He's got the voice to match as well, which is what a combination.
And the looks aren't that bad either, are they?
He's holding up pretty well. You look.
It's a struggle.
You will have to drop in. You'll have to drop in.
Yeah, you have to come in and see our radio station on the dining room table.
I will.
It's odd. It's different. It's eccentric. That's the word.
Well, that's all right. That suits us.
Yeah, well, I must admit, I think eccentricity is interesting. I'd love to be more eccentric than I am. But do you regard yourself as an eccentric?
I think I've probably got a little bit of that coming out a lot.
Yeah. And so you should, to be interesting. You said something fascinating a little while ago, that kids come out of university and, high school and then into university, and they come out the other end with surprisingly few life skills.
Very few. And, a couple of reasons why I think that the family unit has changed. I don't think kids sit around the table any longer with parents.
No. They certainly don't talk to each other.
No, they don't. And there are also conversations around one person at the table. It doesn't cover subjects necessarily. And the other thing is that I think we all know that social media and phones have made a big difference. But apart from that, I don't think we would see as many situations of women, say my age, even younger, who have had problems with suddenly finding they've got no money as they move on in life. And I'm really trying so hard to have financial literacy introduced in the last 2 years of high school.
Yes.
In university is mandatory too. And then I want to encourage these big organisations that used to employ me to introduce it to men and women coming out of university, because they're going in as grads, they go to earn good money, and I think they have to start learning very early. No one ever taught me that, and I never thought it. My biggest and only regret in life is I should have actually done something about learning.
And look, when you look at AFL football players now, the young ones are given strategic tutoring on financial matters, life skills, connections with the media, how to address people, how to behave. These are the things that should be mandatory taught at school and throughout any tertiary education. And if anything that this morning's program has shown is how government and education is letting the community down, as is social housing, as is homelessness, as in health, you name it. Everything at the moment seems to be broken. And it'd be interesting, your comments on how do we solve this homeless problem, particularly amongst the age, Glen-Marie?
Well, the age is, I think it's even separately again. There's about 3 different levels. First of all, you've got the age, then you've got that middle level, but they're starting to get the pension. But then you've now got a high proportion of women between 40 and 55 who actually cannot get a job, and they've got young kids or they've walked out on their husband. The thing is that domestic violence too has gone right through the roof, and that's another problem. And it's higher now than it's ever been. And, obviously the cost of living probably contributes to that too, the man, and also the other thing is that people don't talk about drugs and alcohol, because when people are feeling low, that's where they go. But I live in not community housing, I live in women's housing at Woolloomooloo. But in the street and where I live, I've got people sleeping in the streets, and some of them you can see have mental issues.
It shouldn't be in a rich society like Australia. It should not be.
Well, Jeremy, it's everywhere. And you never see the women. I call them the invisible ones, because they sleep in their cars. Yes. And if their children go to school from those cars, they take them to the local surf club and they shower there, and the kids go off to school. Now, you don't even know about that. They're not even registered. But it is not just in Sydney. It is all over Australia. Regional areas are even worse. And I think that we have to be more innovative in the way we approach this community housing. I don't believe that social housing is always the answer, because people get in there and think they can stay there forever because you're told that. And the kids then do it, and they become a victim of social housing. They don't have the desire to work. And talking about working, I'm going another tangent here now. What really upsets me is we're talking about cutting back on immigration or foreign workers. What's going to happen to the people in the country? None of our kids want to do those sort of jobs. None of them.
No, we've created a sort of a generation of people who expect.
Yes, it's right.
I know this from my own kids. I suppose there is an entitlement. This job is beneath me. I can't do that.
That's right.
But kids. When I was growing up, it was my mother would never have allowed it. But I was envious of the kids who went off jackarooing, and they really learned some interesting life skills, and they took risks. Yep. But these days, not so much. Not so much. And the other thing is too, we have to now have. Migrants and people from other parts of the world who are not necessarily citizens of the country enrol in the armed forces, because we can't find Australians who feel they not enough pride in their country to go and fight for it.
These are interesting.
The police are having trouble getting people too.
Yeah.
But these are interesting subjects, and I often have an interest in what spawns these subjects. Where does the problem commence from? And I remember at Monash University, my first year, I did psychology and sociology, and we were talking about what was the outcome of people who had to go through the Depression years and World War II.
Yeah.
And the outcome was that those older people said, we never want our children to go through the same hardship of not having food on the table, not having shoe leather, not having clothes, not being educated properly.
Sorry, hardship is good.
So they actually bestowed upon their children better than what they had themselves. And I think what's probably happened over the generations, Glen-Marie, is that we've continued on that trajectory to the point now where kids... I mean, you look at what it costs, and I was only saying to Peter Clayton this morning, you look what parents have to shell out to outfit even a 6-year-old nowadays with a laptop computer, with a mobile phone, with the tech streaming at home in the TV, what they want in terms of footwear. They are really, really getting looked after well without really learning the fundamentals and what it takes to earn.
Right.
Because it's no problem having those things, provided you've actually earned it.
Yes.
And you've had a disciplined approach. But if you get things given, it's like giving people, generally speaking, I don't make this as a carte blanche comment, but generally speaking, if you give people money for nothing, they then tend to accept that that's the way life is, and they don't want to then contribute back in.
I don't think they appreciate it, but the other thing is too that I think it still goes back to parenting and role modelling, and that's another problem we have too, is that parents are role models. I mean, I just take community service, for instance. You know, I've been raising money for charity since I was 17, but I saw my mother doing it in big shows in Brisbane and things like that. But that's not the point. I grew up with it, yes. But, you know, what I didn't realise that my son had grown up with me doing it, often complaining, Mum, you're coming home at 10 o'clock at night and now working on this or that, and it was all charity. And I was on the Sydney Children's Board for about 11 years. But I get a phone call at my office, and they always said to my PA, if Andrew rings, always make sure he gets through. And anyhow, it was him. He said, Mum, I'm with Olivia Greenberg. We're going to set up a new committee for the Amber Committee for the hospital. You've got your Gold Committee. He said, you've got your Silver Committee. Yeah. You've got nothing for kids up to 34. So we want to set up another one. I said, you're kidding me. He said, no, we really do. And he said, we think we can get 250 along and then build on it. Well, blow me. And then he said, and can you ring your friends? I said, whoops, hold the phone. No, I can't. I said, you have to ring them. You have to go out and say how old you guys are and you're bringing in this age group. I said, because you will get a yes, yes, yes. I said, but these heads of business walk down the street and see me. They cross the road because they may be asking for something. And so Andrew went off and did it. Yeah. The first year they got 350, the second year 500, and then 750 the third year. And he stayed there and then went on to another board, SHD Global for research. But that community service came from him. No one was more shocked than I. But that's from him seeing me do it.
It's wonderful. Sorry, Glenn.
But kids aren't volunteering anymore. They're not doing anything like that.
No. Last question. Who was the greatest influence in your life? Was there one person who sort of stands out as being right there?
I was probably lucky that I had really good quality of people around me most of my working life. I think my mother in some respects, because I've never told her this, of course, but I sort of learned my resilience and a lot of other characteristics from her. But I saw her weather many storms, and she always was good at go out looking glamorous. No one knew what was behind the scenes. Yeah. But I was brought up to think I could do anything I wanted to, in the sense of achievements, if I worked hard for it. Yeah. And I have a problem, and I've always had it. I don't know if it's being a Brizzy babe, but I've never, ever been overawed by anybody or in awe. And no matter who I meet, whether it be Trump, and I hope I never see him again. Or,
it's his birthday today.
Oh, God, I hope he's not dead. So he's the most repulsive man I've met in my life, and I've never had any man make me feel filthy and dirty.
Oh, really? Did he make a pass at you?
Oh, it was worse than that. I met him in Los Angeles on my way back from a Beers trip, I think it was. No, it doesn't matter. It was in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I was invited to a party at the Beverly Wilshire, and he's married to Ivana Trump. And we all heard of her because of her hairstyle and who she was.
Yeah.
So he was not him. And he wanted to meet me, so I went over to them and I said hello to her, and then I shook hands with him. He took my hand, he looked right into my eyes. He went slowly down my body and stopped at my crotch. And then looked at my eyes again.
Good God, good God.
I pulled my hand away so fast,
Yeah.
and she had a smirk on her face because Shossie knew he's a dirty dog anyway.
Yeah.
And I went over to the host and I said, "Oh, that man." I said, "I can't even, I'm sorry, I'm going to leave. I want to wash, I need a shower." And he said to me, he said, "What do you do?" I told him. He said, "Do you know how many women look and nod?" I said, "What do you mean nod?" I said, "Nod yes."
You're kidding?
That's what I said.
Oh, my God. Oh,
And that
dear,
was-
Glen-Marie.
And the married to Ivana, staying next to his wife. And, I've never forgotten that. And the man ends up president of America.
I know.
Hello?
And on the other hand, you've got Mr. Biden. So I mean, it's a strange choice when you've got 320 million people to choose from, and we end up with that sort of...
Caliber.
Yeah. Glen-Marie, wonderful to talk to you. Thank you so much.
And lovely to speak to you too, Les. And Jeremy, I look forward to seeing you and Caroline in Adelaide very soon.
Love you. Love you dearly.
Me too. Bye-bye, darling.
All the best.
Bye.
Glen-Marie North, ladies and gentlemen.